The impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden is official after the House voted along party lines last night, 221 to 212. That means it was unanimous on the GOP side, including Ken Buck. Here's Chairman Jim Jordan and James Comer on what's next for the House.
We want to talk to all the partners. We want to talk to Rob Walker, Eric Schwerin, Tony Bobolinsky, Jim Biden. All these individuals are important. And then we still want to talk to Hunter Biden. But we want to talk to the...
It's very clear the White House has been obstructing our investigation. I think the message sent today is very loud and clear. We expect them to comply.
Meanwhile, first son Hunter Biden was supposed to sit for a closed-door deposition with the House Oversight Committee, but he defied that subpoena yesterday. Instead, he read a statement standing outside of Capitol Hill. Watch this.
I am here to testify at a public hearing today to answer any of the committee's legitimate questions. Republicans do not want an open process where Americans can see their tactics, expose their baseless inquiry, or hear what I have to say. Let me state as clearly as I can, my father was not financially involved in my business.
My father was not financially involved in my business. Final word there. Kaylee, your thoughts?
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, what they don't say is just as important as what they do say. So my father was never financially involved with my business dealings does not mean that he never financially benefited from those business dealings. And it's really interesting to see how the language has shifted now multiple times in order to protect Joe Biden. First, Joe Biden's excuse was that he had never even spoke with his son about his business dealings. Then it was, well, I never went into business with my son. And now it's, well, I was never financially involved. So, I mean, everything is clearly intended to protect the president from any scrutiny. And so I almost wonder at Hunter Biden's tactic here of going on a very public offensive against House Republicans when really his father stands to lose the most out of all of this.
Yeah, I also really have an issue with how misleading and disingenuous everybody is on the Democrat side, including Hunter Biden, about the closed door versus open door. Yeah. We all know why the Republicans want a closed door meeting, because that will enable them to ask questions and not have 5 minutes. In the open session, each lawmaker has 5 minutes and then you move on. Well, and that's it.
And, you know, the Wall Street Journal editorial board actually points out exactly that. Yeah. And that's why they call it the disingenuous comments from Hunter Biden yesterday. And they say, look, you know, Jordan and Comer, they want an in-depth deposition conducted under the guidance of lawyers, a process that innumerable other subpoenaed Americans have complied with. Mr. Biden's resistance smacks of a plea for special treatment.
Yeah. It's incredible, the developments right now. We'll see what happens now in terms of the contempt in Congress, contempt of Congress proceedings that the Republicans are doing on Hunter Biden.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that Hunter Biden it seems like he's trying to use his addiction as his legal defense.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh,
hey, I did a lot of stupid stuff while I was an addict.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you were an addict and you're in recovery, I'm happy for you in that regard. But that does not give you a free pass on crimes that you committed while you were high. Yeah. It doesn't work like that. If that was the case, what was it, a month or two ago, that Alaska Airlines pilot who was high on magic mushrooms, he was hallucinating, and he went and he shut off the engines for the plane.
Yeah.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
That's not a valid legal defense, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, and doesn't Hunter Biden's addiction actually bolster Republicans' arguments that the foreign business partners who were spending millions of dollars to go into business with Hunter Biden weren't spending those millions for Hunter Biden's influence, the crack addict? They were clearly paying for something else.
That's right.
And you know what? There's an email on his laptop, Maria, that surfaced. It's on FoxNews.com, and it actually shows that he was thinking about doing some type of op-ed because he knew what it was going to look like right when he took the job at Burisma. He knew that this was going to come up, but he decided not to do that for whatever reason.
That's a great point. The White House is also responding to Fox's Peter Doocy about President Biden knowing ahead of time that Hunter would make the plea to the media and defy the congressional subpoena. Watch.
He said that President Biden was familiar with what his son was going to say on Capitol Hill. If I called my dad and said, I am about to violate a congressional subpoena, he'd probably say, son, you shouldn't do that. Was there any attempt by President Biden to talk Hunter out of it today?
You're going to call your dad Steve?
Call him Dad, usually.
Look, I don't have anything else to add. The president was familiar with what Hunter was going to say today. You know, look, he's proud of his son. He and the First Lady are proud of his son, how he's rebuilding his life back. He's going to focus on what is needed on the American people.
Tries to distract with the, you call your father Steve.
Yeah, well, and that obviously, and I love that Peter just kind of brushed him off because Peter's a professional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, look, the end of the day, President Biden has repeatedly said over and over he knew nothing about his son's business dealings over all of that time when he was vice president, nothing to do with Ukraine and the prosecutor and all that. So I think the concern from President Biden right now should be that under subpoena, Hunter Biden may, under oath, have to say, yes, my dad and I talked about business. That's rough.
I mean, it's ridiculous to think Joe didn't know anything about it. They were selling Joe. That's what the prize was, access to Joe, right?
Right. Well, and I guess, you know, I think we all know the real reason why Hunter Biden didn't want to go before Congress at all, because he doesn't want to be penalized for lying before Congress, which is another crime. So
there you go.